The late afternoon sun painted golden streaks across the parking lot of Henderson's Auto Repair, casting long shadows that seemed to whisper of possibilities yet unseen. David Morrison adjusted his grip on his 3-year-old daughter Emma, her tiny arms wrapped trustingly around his neck as they walked toward their red sedan. At 34, David had learned that life rarely unfolds as we plan. The oil stains on his gray t-shirt told the story of an afternoon spent teaching Emma about car maintenance, something his own father had done with him decades ago. These small traditions, passed from one generation to the next, had become precious to him since becoming a single father. Emma's golden curls caught the fading light as she pointed excitedly at a butterfly dancing near the garage entrance. "Daddy, look how pretty," she whispered, her voice filled with that pure wonder that only children possess. David smiled, remembering how his late wife Sarah used to say that Emma saw magic in the simplest things. As they approached their car, David noticed a woman in an elegant cream-colored dress standing beside a silver Mercedes, her designer handbag clutched in perfectly manicured hands. Even from a distance, he could sense her frustration. The woman, perhaps in her early 30s, had the polished appearance of someone accustomed to having solutions at her fingertips. Catherine Walsh had always prided herself on being prepared, on having control. But here she stood, stranded in a part of town she rarely visited, her car refusing to start after what should have been a simple errand. Her heels clicked anxiously against the asphalt as she tried calling her usual mechanic, only to reach voicemail. "Excuse me," David called out gently, shifting Emma to his hip as they approached. "Having car trouble?" Catherine looked up, taking in this man with kind eyes and work-worn hands, holding a child who gazed at her with unabashed curiosity. Something about his calm presence made her shoulders relax slightly. "I'm afraid so," she admitted, her voice carrying a trace of embarrassment. "It just died, and my usual mechanic is closed for the weekend." David nodded knowingly, the way men of his generation had learned to do when faced with automotive mysteries. "Mind if I take a look?" Sometimes it's something simple. There was no expectation in his offer, no assumption that she owed him anything in return. It was simply kindness, the kind that seems increasingly rare in our hurried world. Catherine hesitated for just a moment, then stepped aside. "I would be so grateful." As David set Emma down gently, she immediately toddled over to Catherine, looking up with those bright blue eyes that seemed to see straight into a person's heart. "You're very pretty," Emma announced, with the straightforward honesty of childhood. "Like the princess in my storybook?" Catherine's carefully composed expression softened, a genuine smile replacing her worried frown. She knelt down, bringing herself to Emma's level, her cream blazer pooling elegantly around her. "Why, thank you, sweetheart. What's your name?" "Emma Rose Morrison," came the proud reply. "Daddy says I'm named after his grandma and Mommy's favorite flower." David glanced over from where he was examining the engine, catching the gentle way Catherine listened to his daughter. There was something authentic in her attention, not the polite but distant smile adults sometimes gave children. "Emma Rose is a beautiful name for a beautiful little girl," Catherine said softly. Under the hood, David quickly identified the problem, a loose battery connection, common and easily fixed. But as he worked, he found himself stealing glances at the woman patiently answering his daughter's endless questions about her fancy clothes and sparkly jewelry. "There we go," David announced after a few minutes, closing the hood with a satisfying thud. "Just a loose connection. Should start right up now." Catherine stood gracefully, her relief evident. "How much do I owe you?" "Nothing at all," David replied, wiping his hands on an old rag. "Just paying it forward. Someone helped me once when Emma and I were stranded. During a thunderstorm, no less. The generosity of strangers, how it ripples forward through time, creating connections we never anticipate." Catherine insisted on at least buying them dinner, and something in David's gentle acceptance suggested he understood she needed to give something back. To restore her sense of balance, they found themselves at Murphy's Diner, a family place with checkered tablecloths and the kind of comfort food that feeds the soul. Emma chattered happily from her booster seat, asking Catherine about her work as an interior designer. Fascinated by someone who makes houses beautiful? Do you have any little girls? Emma asked suddenly, the question carrying that innocent directness children possess. Catherine's smile faltered just slightly. No, I don't. David caught something in her tone, a wistfulness that spoke of dreams deferred or perhaps lost. He gently steered the conversation elsewhere. But Emma, with that intuitive wisdom of children, seemed to sense something important. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, but profound. Catherine felt something shift in her chest, a door opening to possibilities she'd convinced herself were no longer meant for her. David's eyes met hers across the table, and in that moment, they both understood that some connections transcend planning, transcend the careful walls we build around our hearts. Emma, honey, David said gently. That's not how it works, but Catherine reached across the table, taking Emma's small hand in hers. You know what, Emma Rose, I think I'd like to get to know you and your daddy better. Would that be okay? Emma's face lit up like Christmas morning, and in that glow, two adults who had given up on fairy tales began to believe in second chances. Sometimes, the most beautiful chapters of our lives begin with the simplest acts of kindness. When we open our hearts to help a stranger and discover they were never really a stranger at all, just someone waiting to become part of our story.